Hi guys, my name is Jeannie. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm gonna do a review on the Makeup Forever HD Skin Concealer. If you guys are interested in seeing my thoughts about this concealer and how it performs on me, then keep on watching. But before you do that, please like and subscribe. And when the video's over, let me know what you thought about the concealer. Are you gonna be picking it up or passing on this launch? And with that being said, let's hop right into the video. Okay guys, so let's get right into the review of this Makeup Forever HD Skin Concealer. Let's go over some specs about the Makeup Forever HD Skin Smooth and Blur Undetectable Eye Concealer. That is a mouthful for sure, but HD Skin for short is good enough. I have this concealer in the shade 4.0. So the shade 4.0 is considered almond for deep tones with a neutral to golden undertones. Now, when I was picking out this concealer, I had like some trouble in Sephora because I was actually trying to find a highlight shade, like a kind of natural highlight shade, not a super bright one, but I really didn't see anything that would have been in between. So I kind of just got something that's more close to my skin tone. I guess we'll see if it's actually a highlight shade on me or not when I actually put it on, because I've yet to actually wear this concealer. The shade that is one shade lighter than Almond 4.0 is called 3.5 Gingerbread. But whenever I saw these in the stores, I was like, I would never probably reach for this unless I want an extreme highlight. So there's a couple of shades darker. They only have really 5 dark shades, and I know it's concealer, so they're not gonna have as many shades as foundation, but honestly, I feel like the shade range is a little sucky. I don't know, it's not the best. It's not the best. I had trouble in the store for sure. So what is it? It's a feather light buildable concealer that visibly smooths, brightens, and corrects under eyes with an undetectable real skin finish for up to 24 hours of wear. 24 hours, okay, let's see. And it says the coverage is medium and the finish is natural. So it's not a matte concealer. I usually like a somewhat matte concealer because I do have oily skin, but let's see how this natural finish is gonna look on me. And the formulation is a liquid. Let's see. Highlighted ingredients: a smooth skin complex composed of jojoba oil to help hydrate the skin. It has hyaluronic acid, snow mushroom that contributes to visible plumping, smoothing, and it also has a soft focus powder that's supposed to blur and coated pigments to color correct. So that sounds like it would be a really good concealer. It seems like it has a lot of ingredients that are supposed to smooth and plump. That sounds really good. And color correct? I mean, let's see. I've yet to try it, so let's see if it's true. And it's also free of parabens and formaldehydes, all that bad stuff. So if you care about that, that's good to know. It says it has a gel-like texture that's easily blendable without caking or creasing. So this like snow mushroom thing is supposed to fill in fine lines under the eyes. Let's see. It says dot the applicator on the inner corner, swipe the concealer along the inner and outer corners, and tap to blend, either using a Makeup Forever HD Skin sponge or your fingertips. I am gonna use a beauty blender, which I usually do, because I don't really use my fingers to blend out my concealer. If I can find my concealer brush, I might use that as well, just to show you guys the difference in coverage. I do have the shade 4.0, like I said, and I want to see if this is going to be a decent like highlight shade. In person it looks a little bit more orangey, but on camera it looks like a good highlight shade. I'm using a damp beauty blender. So this is like the first layer. I only put one layer on this eye, so this is the difference. No concealer, one layer of concealer here. So I see a difference, like it covered some, but I can still see, I don't know if you can see on camera, but in person, I can see that this darkness here, I can still see it peeking through, and it doesn't really seem like too much of a thick coverage. And I do have dark circles, so I would like it to be not necessarily thick, but like more on the medium to full coverage side. I'm not really necessarily getting full coverage. Still looking a little bit hollow, but I usually do more than one layer, so let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna apply the same amount to the other side. Okay, so I put like kind of the same amount, like maybe a little bit more on this side, but basically the same amount of concealer. And I'm gonna use what's left of this makeup brush. Do not judge me. I do not know what happened to the handle of this. So now I have concealer on both sides of my eyes. This one I just blended out with a concealer brush, and this side I blended out with a beauty blender. I do see a little bit of difference in the coverage. There seems to be a tiny bit more coverage on this side than on this side, and that's to be expected because we know that brushes don't pick up as much product as beauty blenders, but I really just like the smooth finish that a beauty blender gives my concealer. So that's why I use it. I just find it very easy, but I do see a little bit more coverage. The shade's definitely not giving highlight. I don't always highlight when I wear concealer. I used to, but now sometimes I go more of the natural route, especially like when I'm going to work and stuff. I use a concealer shade that's closer to my skin complexion. So I'm not really getting the highlighted effect because it's not really that much lighter than my skin tone, if at all. It really like matches my foundation really, really well. So it's not giving me that highlight effect, but it is covering some under eye darkness, but I can tell with the beauty blender I'm gonna need to use a little bit more. It's not matte, it is definitely a natural finish. It looks a little bit more silky and smooth, not matte. And I don't know if it's gonna stay put because of the finish, but I guess we'll see how it looks when I set it with powder. Usually when I do my makeup, especially if I want it to really look smooth and flawless, I'll do 2 layers of concealer. So I'm going in with my second layer. The consistency of this concealer is like definitely lightweight for sure. It's like more of like a, I don't wanna say watery because it isn't watery, but it's, I can see what they mean by gel-like. It feels like a little bit, it's like lightweight. So this is with a beauty blender, 2 layers of concealer. I'm not really seeing the results that I would get from my typical concealer, but that might also have to do with the fact that it's close to my skin complexion, so it's not giving me that bright under eye that I'm looking for, because I do have darker eye circles than most people or than your average person, you know what I mean? I mean, take that with a grain of salt. If you don't have that much to cover under your eyes, then you don't have to worry about anything, but if you do have darker circles like me, you may not like this, especially if you're using like a beauty blender. I would like to see how it looks with like 1 shade lighter. I put a second layer on this side as well, and I'm gonna use my brush to blend it out. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I put a lot because it spreads very easily. Like I feel like I put a lot on this side. It spreads very easily, and you know, the brush isn't soaking up as much, so I feel like it's spreading further than it did on the other side. This is the second layer blended out with a brush. I definitely see a difference in the coverage between the brush and the beauty blender with these concealers. I have a better coverage with the brush on this side with 2 layers. I'm still not gonna say it's my favorite. I don't wanna get off topic, but the Lancome, if you know the consistency of the Lancome, I think it's called like All Day Wear Concealer. That is my new favorite concealer, along with the Pat McGrath. If you know the coverage of those 2 concealers, it's a little bit different. Like you get a little bit more coverage. This one is giving me very lightweight. It's not bad, but I don't know if I would reach for it just yet. I'm also gonna apply some concealer in the areas that I normally would, like around my nose and mouth. I applied some concealer around my nose and my mouth like I normally would. And I guess the good thing about this not being a highlight shade is that it will just give me extra coverage without really being too noticeable. It blends in really well since it's almost the same shade as my foundation. Okay, so it's time to set, and I'm gonna use my One Size and translucent powder to set. And I have about this much on my powder puff, and I'm gonna like dab off the excess on my hand so it doesn't go in too crazy. So this is what it looks like. I'm gonna go straight in. Powder just makes a difference. Like, do you see that immediate difference? Crazy. With the translucent powder, it's giving kind of like a little bit more of that highlighted effect, even though this is very close to my skin tone. So I haven't wiped off the extra powder, but I feel like it does set pretty well. Like, look how smooth it looks now that I've set it with powder. It really does look smooth. And because it's not a highlight shade, but I did use a translucent powder, which, you know, is a little bit lighter, it still gives me a little bit brightness under my eye once I set it. I think it looks really smooth. Yeah, it looks super smooth. I would be curious to know how this wears throughout the day because it's not matte, but like, check it out. I still think it could be slightly higher coverage, but like when it's set, it looks pretty good, especially for like a natural everyday type of concealer. So what do you guys think? This is color 4.0, and this is what it looks like once it's set, 2 layers. This is the brush side, this is the Beauty Blender side. I think they both look pretty good, but yeah, the brush side is still winning for sure. I'm gonna finish the rest of my makeup. I'm also doing a latte makeup video at the same time. So if you guys wanna see how I did the whole look, then go and watch that video because that will be in a separate video. But yes, I'm gonna finish my makeup and then I'm gonna give you my final thoughts on this concealer. Okay guys, so I am back and this look is my latte makeup look. This is from my other video, so if you're interested in that, go watch that video. But I did finish my whole face of makeup. You saw me set it on camera and I just finished the rest off camera. So I wanna give you guys my final thoughts on this Makeup Forever HD Skin Concealer. Okay, I think it's different than the actual foundation for sure. It's not as high of a coverage. It says it's medium, but it's giving like, you know, light to medium buildable-ish. Okay, that's just my opinion. I think that it did give me a nice finish once I set it. It's very lightweight and I can feel that gelish consistency. So if you're looking for more of a lightweight concealer, something that you can just like blend away and kind of go, then this might be it for you. I'm not sure how this concealer would function if you didn't set it. I know that some matte concealers you can kind of put under your eye and kind of go about your business. You don't necessarily have to set it and it won't get super creasy, but this concealer definitely seems like it would crease heavily on you if you don't set it at all. Like, you need to set it at least a little bit for it to really set into place, because I didn't really feel like the concealer was looking too hot until I added powder to it. So the concealer does have a nice look when it's all set. Let me give you guys a close-up. So you're definitely gonna get a higher coverage if you use a brush, which is with most concealers. So it's not that high coverage to begin with. So if you're using a beauty blender, just keep in mind that you're not gonna get as much coverage as you would if you used a brush. This is the brush side and this is the beauty blender side. I think it does do a nice job of covering my under eye circles, but I do have concealers that do a phenomenal job. This is not really up to par. I think it does like a decent job of canceling out what I've got going on, but I've had concealers that do so much better, and I don't even have to use a lot of product with those concealers either. So I honestly would probably exchange this concealer for one of my favorites. I don't think that this would be like my go-to. If you haven't found a concealer that you like and you want something lightweight, definitely give this one a shot. It's not bad by any means. It's just not my favorite. It's not anything that's super wow to me. It's just like, oh, okay, I see you. Natural, medium, buildable coverage. You know, it's not bad, but it's just not giving that wow factor. And when I want to look for a makeup product, I'm looking for something that's going to change my routine, change the game, and make me feel like, wow, how come nobody told me about this? Like, that's what I want to feel like. And I don't really feel that way. I'm just like, okay, this is cool. It's cool, but I honestly have a feeling that this is gonna go back to Sephora and be exchanged for Lancome All Over Wear concealer or a Pat McGrath, because Honestly, for the price point, it's just not doing it for me. I actually forgot to mention how much this concealer is. It retails for $29. For the price point, I wouldn't personally keep this in my collection. It looks really smooth, but it's just not like one of those concealers that'll be like bam, you know what I mean? If you like trying out new products and you like Makeup Forever and you like a lightweight gelish consistency that's gonna like plump and look really smooth, then this is a really good concealer because it still actually does what it says it's gonna do. I just want, for me personally, just a little bit more coverage. So if you guys like how this concealer looks on me, definitely go to Sephora, give it a try, see if you like it for yourself. You can always bring it back if you don't like it. Those are basically all my thoughts about the concealer. I think it's about a 7.5. It's a pretty decent concealer, especially if you don't have any big problem areas like myself. I hope you guys enjoyed my review. I hope you found it useful. And if you have any questions about this concealer, please leave them down in the comments down below and I'll be sure to answer them. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.